According to my channel analytics, 66.7% of my audience are female. 33.3% of my audience are males. As it relates to age, 29.3% of my audience are 35 to 44 years old, 25% are 45 to 50 years old, 19.6% are 25 to 34 years old, and 15.4% are 55 to 64 years old. The other percentages are irrelevant given its quantitative values. But overall, I share my analytical information or statistics to emphasize the generational dissonance between my audience and myself. I myself am 21 years old. My audience is most consistent of women and few men between the ages of 35 to 64 years old. As I am not appealing to an audience that is befitting of my age, yet rather interest and experience, I want to make it very clear that when I speak, I am well informed. Many of you have discovered my channel due to the passing of Earl Simmons, most notably engaging in my January 17th, 2021 commentary entitled DMX, Motherless Son, Divine Feminine, A Mother's Love. Since publishing this content, I've been quite removed from the subject matter. I was not engaging with the analytics of this commentary nor concerned of retention until viewership began to increase daily, if not hourly. From the 50s to the 100s to the 1000s, I was constantly being bombarded by a few viewers to where I had to provide corrective reinforcement. When I did this commentary, as entitled, Earl Simmons was merely a catalyst for discussion, a catalyst chosen because very few know or acknowledge his childhood, and I felt as if it would further scope the dimensions of his character development to detail his pubescent youth within a conversation of parental negligence, divine feminine, and divine masculinity. Yet again, due to the perceived indiscretions and possible miscommunication on my behalf, I decided to create two more commentaries which would clarify my intent and rectify any misconceptions. I've always made myself and my comment section open for constructive dialogue. I'm a very patient and comprehensive woman. I understand this is now a very intimate discussion, so I attempt to approach everything with the proper appropriateness. And just to clarify, when I say I'm well read, especially given this subject matter, I'm simply stating that my tense of speech is rooted within what the source has publicized as factual. We can discuss exclusions, we can discuss hypotheticals, we can question validity when compensation of capitalistic gain is equated. Yet as Tashara Simmons has developed a 25-plus-year rapport with Earl Simmons as his former wife, baby mother, and confidant, when I reference her memoir to support a commentary, I am within no reasonable limits to question her validity when accounting her marriage and her relationship to DMX, i.e. Earl Simmons. When Earl Simmons releases a publication detailing his life within an autobiography, and I reference said text, that's factual. When Earl Simmons candidly speaks with these media outlets and I reference remarks that are quoted, that's factual. Yet when I give my analysis of an object subject matter, furthermore asserting a subjective approach, this is my interpretation, and this is not fact. Although based within a factual context, this again is not factual, and I've never spoken otherwise. When I discuss Earl Simmons, please understand that I am well read on the subject matter. Not to suggest that I know of him personally, yet I know of what he shared. And I know of what his former wife shared. And I know of what everyone who has intimately engaged with him has shared of him. What I am knowledgeable of and what I acknowledge exceeds his Ayama Van Zant interview. It exceeds any interview that he was a part of. I've always grown up upon Earl DMX Simmons music. And even as I've grown, I have deconstructed his lyrics, instrumentals, and artistic catalog as a historian would. I've read Tashara Simmons, his former wife's memoir, You Think You Know, You Have No Idea. I've read his autobiography. I've watched almost every last accessible interview or televised appearance he was a part of, way before the Rough Riders documentary, way before DMX was being tributed on BET. I've sought to acknowledge his development. You know what I mean? Even when I still had an Instagram, which was prior to his passing, I actively followed his family because they were beautiful, and it was wonderful to see him apparently healthy. I'm not a frivolous person, so when I engage in something, I'm quite invested. That's well informed. I wasn't keeping up with his family like the Kardashians, but there was a healthy integration of awareness. So conclusively and respectfully, if my content is not of your interest, if I say something that is distasteful to you, definitely disengage with my content immediately. Unsubscribe. Don't even subscribe at all. And I say this honestly for your well-being and my well-being as well. I would not want you to be a part of something that you are dissatisfied with, and I would not want to, continually dissatisfy you. So if this is not something that you want to, get down with, that you dig on, disengage, respectfully. So again, if I make references, it's for comprehension and to bridge a marginalized gap. It's not to project a viewpoint, because I will reference polarizing theories, ideals, practices, yet it's not meant to dismantle your personal belief. It's not meant to reconstruct affirmation. Like, if you're affirmed in something, you're affirmed. I'm not going to shake your belief on what you believe in. That's not for me to assert myself to. That's not for me to even object against. That's what you believe. That's what you believe. Now, if it gets disrespectful and it is harmful to others, then I'll have to intervene. But other than that, what you believe is what you believe. What I believe is what I believe. And even if I reference something, like, for example, and more specifically, if I reference Buddhism or Hinduism, that's not a belief that I, particularly practice, but there are certain aspects of that belief that I respect. So I'll reference it when I'm doing my commentaries. It doesn't mean that DMX is a Buddhist. It doesn't mean that you're a Buddhist. It doesn't mean that I'm a Buddhist. It's just for context. It's for comprehension. It's to bridge a marginalized gap. It's just so interesting how one will assert their stance when they feel as if what they have affirmed themselves within is being threatened due to a reference. Someone mentioned in the comment section, they were like, he believed in God. And I'm just like, absolutely, he did. I would never say otherwise. Like, he's always made it very clear that he believed in God. Yet and still, although DMX never solicited addiction and he graciously placed religion within his music, he still touched on nefarious activities. He was still talking about robbing niggas and killing niggas. He was still saying nigga and a bunch of other curse words, a lot of vulgarity, a lot of sexually lewd, adulterous, lustful behavior. It was Brenda, Letitia, like Don, LaShawn, Inez, and Felicia. Like, okay, so chill out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, chill out. You chill out. So again, more conclusively than before, I wanted to share my analytical statistics or information to provide you with a bit of insight as I am provided. I'm 21 years old. Most of my audience, I believe, is between the ages of 34 to 64. So of course, I understand there is this visible dissonance. I understand that I'm talking to baby boomers. I'm talking to millennials, like the real millennials. Although I'm 1999 and we consider ourselves millennials because we're 90s babies, we're really not millennials. From what I've researched, I think. Don't quote me on it. But, I'm really just here to say, if you can get down with what I'm putting down, then get down what I'm putting down. But if you can't, skedaddle. You don't have to stay where you're unhappy at. So ForeWarning, although I can be quite conservative for my age, at least that's what I've been told, thus proven given the analytics of my YouTube channel, me pulling a demographic that is adverse to my own, because of my age, I'm going to approach conversations a bit liberally. I'm going to have conversations that are socially, political, or socio-economically relevant. I'm going to have conversations of psychology and sociology because that is relevant to my academic field of study and interest. I'm going to have conversations about astrology, possibly numerology, religion, spirituality. I'm going to have these conversations. And if you're uncomfortable, if you feel threatened, I definitely understand. And I would further suggest that you disengage with this content, disengage with this channel. But moreover, just for an example of myself, I always try to lead by example. There are people that comment certain things in my comment section that really doesn't align with the way that I believe. Like, some people will say rest in peace. Other people will say live on and live life. When people pass on, I'm not going to be like, no, it's this way. Say it like that. You know what I mean? And that's kind of like the behavior that I'm hoping to refrain from on my channel. So this is just really like a reinstatement of expectations. Yet overall, I say all this to say I want my comment section, especially because I feel like that's the focal point of one's platform as it pertains to their audiences. It really is like a reflection of humanity, just virtually. I want it to be a safe place for people to converse. I don't want it to be restrictive, but I do want us to have an air of discernment to know what we should and should not say, because we are grown adults, or at least growing people. And yeah, hopefully we'll be respectful.